we are giving away a free Steam key to the story-based adventure game The Silent Age. In this addictive game, you assume the role of a regular, unsuspecting janitor who sees himself confronted with the daunting task to save all of mankind. Simply answer the question at the beginning of every video to be entered for the giveaway running until July 31st. You can enter as many times as you want by answering every new question in order to increase your chances. Let's get it. Question for this podcast is going to be, what do all the titles of our Life is Strange videos have in common? Like, what are they referencing? Except for Captain Spirit, of course, but the original series, all the titles have some in common, so what is it? We got on a podcast today, and I'm hyped for that. So, how are you doing, JJ, first of all?
I'm doing fine.
Alright, so what are we talking about in today's episode?
Well, the first topic we're going to be talking about, how everything was better back in the day.
Everything. Allegedly.
And how everything is shit today, apparently.
Arguably. So that seems to be the sentiment that a lot of people represent these days.
Now, I would generally tend to disagree, but that's why we're here today.
Yeah, but you can also agree with it. Well, we can agree within certain aspects, but saying everything is, of course, an exaggeration.
Yeah, of course, blanket statements and all.
Yeah, never make statements about blankets. Not a good idea. We've had that before.
Yeah.
So,
but making blanket statements is not a good idea.
No, it's not. It's never a good idea. No, not in a literal or figurative sense. So, one of the things that always comes to mind is music, I think, specifically for me. Because I tend to be saying that, and I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, of course.
Music was better.
Generally, music from back in the day is better than most modern music.
And of course, by back in the day with music, we're not talking about the 1800s, right? We're talking about the let's say 1955 to 1985 or 1995, maybe 95.
Yeah, primarily around there. There's every now and again there's a song that's like newer.
Yeah, Bon Jovi done some stuff.
Maybe older, but
Bon Jovi done some stuff, but the vast majority of passable music is definitely from that time frame. So for music, I think that holds true quite a bit, because today's music is somewhat awful.
Not all of it, but most of it.
It tends to be.
One thing that I have to say as a counter to that, of course, is that obviously we are still listening to the music from back in the day. It's still accessible to us.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, it's more accessible than ever, thanks to such nice inventions as the internet.
Yeah, that's true. And so, at some point during our lives, the music from the 70s and 80s will be in the public domain. Hopefully.
Right, yes.
So that's gonna be good, because that means we can play them whenever we want to.
Without getting demonetized.
Yeah, without fearing legal repercussions. So, we can do our 50-year special on YouTube, playing a Beatles song or Smell Like Teen Spirit, without being demonetized. That's great.
That is pretty good.
I'm already looking forward to that now. And,
Wait, how long does it take for something to get in the public domain?
Is it 75 years? Somewhere around that?
Oh,
I know that.
I thought it was more, but yeah.
I know that on January 1st, 2019, there's the next wave of stuff getting to the public domain. So that's the 1920s.
Okay.
And stuff, like 1920 and later, I think. So you got some. I actually recently seen a post on Reddit that we're talking about it. So there's a new wave of new stuff coming to the public domain. So what are people excited about? And they were talking about novels, books by Agatha Christie, for example, in the early 1920s, I believe. So that stuff is coming in there. And a few decades in the future, we're going to get actual good stuff too. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
that weirdly connects to both the past and the future.
It does. And, future. So that's another thing, though. Do you think people in the future will be talking about that stuff was better now? People in 30 years, they'll be saying in 2018, that was the good old days when we had values in our society.
I feel like generally, a lot of times it's old people saying it.
Yeah.
Which...
Because they was there when it happened.
Yeah, which is a lot of nostalgia and maybe not being able to properly adapt to new things and being kind of stuck in the old ways. And I think that's going to keep happening.
Yeah, but do you think...
I think in,
think in 2060 we'll be sitting
60 to 80 years, some of our generation, maybe not us specifically, but some of our generation will be like, what's up with all this new technology that's been coming out in our lifetime? What's up with that?
I don't know about that. Well, but do you think we'll be sitting there being like, oh, you know, in the old school days, it was all just great when people were doing bullshit on YouTube, Cinnamon Challenge and all. Like that was true entertainment.
Well,
not the stuff the kids are watching today.
Not specifically those things, but if you think back to this, then you know this still is simple times, right? Like we're going to college every now and again. You know, we're hanging out with friends.
How is this the simple times? This is not the simple times. How is this still a simple times? 21st century is not the simple times.
No, I'm saying this point in our lives.
That's not the simple times.
Like late teens, early 20s.
That's the hardest time in life. That's not that, like that. How is that the simple times? I don't get what you mean there. Like, elaborate.
That's when you still don't really have a lot of responsibilities.
That's when you got all the responsibilities, man, more than you'll ever have. That's when the foundation of your life is built. I really don't get I really don't get that view. Like that the easy times is gonna be when you're older. When you're like, oh, you've done stuff, like you've accomplished your life basically. Now you get to chill out. Which, depending on how well you do now, can be sooner or later. But the easy time, like, this is not the easy times. It's the hard times. The times where you just grind. I feel like. I don't know how people view that, but that kind of seems to be... Well, that kind of seems to make sense to me, right? Because when you're retired, that's when you can, like, do whatever the fuck you want. Just chill out, sit around, listen to the public domain music in 60 years. And just don't have a care or responsibility in the world because your kids are now grown up and you don't need to work no more. Got no more responsibilities except for just sitting around, just eating food and breathing oxygen.
Okay, but we can definitely agree that like 5 to 10 years ago was definitely like.
Well, 5 to 10 years ago, before school. Let's say before school.
Before school, wow, that's.
Let's say before school, because when school starts, we going. Like this is what life starts now. Okay, let's say high school.
Okay.
Like the point when it starts mattering. You got.
Because I was about to say like first grade elementary school. You were sitting there being like, "This is when life starts.
Well, you are building the fundamentals, so you shouldn't have missed that. It's important you had that.
Of course, it's important that you had that, but. Did you care about your future at that point that much?
Not as much as I started later. That's true. So yeah. let's say high school then. But let's say the teenage years.
The point is like exactly like the carefree time is like that is what you later gonna be thinking back on, which is where a lot of the everything was better back then.
Right now, I'm not thinking back to my childhood. And I was like everything's better, but I didn't like it. I like none of it. The only thing I'm looking forward to keenly is my future, not my past at the moment. I'll change it at some point, but not at the moment. Because,
The point is, a lot of people are going to be nostalgic about their past, which is how the whole sentiment itself
one of the
comes
old,
to
yeah,
be.
Probably. So that's probably true. But that seems to me to only be people that aren't really that optimistic about their future, right?
Well, I mean, once you're 80, you're not going to be optimistic about your future because there's probably not going to be that much of a future. Maybe once we are 80, maybe yes, but speaking,
like being 20, like right now.
Yeah, of course, you're not thinking back, but I'm saying exactly. Like that's. But you were saying, are people going to be in the future? Are they going to be nostalgic about this time period? And I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, probably. Even though probably not as much as people now are about 50 years ago.
I would say it's probably about the same. There's just more people. But besides that...
I think I think we were the first generation to grow up, to be raised in the digitalized world, right? In this day and age, the modern day and age. So I don't think that's going to happen too much for us, because we're too disconnected from that already. Like, we've never known simple times, or the good old days. Like, that we've never experienced that in our entire life.
The good old days is just an abstract concept that primarily boils down to how you perceive the past. Less about how it actually was.
Let's not say the good old days, but let's say, well, the simpler times is kind of the same meaning, but the times of basically the less stressed times. Because I believe that if you grew up in the 1960s, you had less stress on your hands.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you did.
Like, being 20 in 1970, I'd probably rather do that than being 20 in 2011 or so. 2020. But, you know, you got to make it happen. You know, what you need to focus on is what opportunities you got, not what you missed out on. So, I missed out on an internet-free life. But then again, opportunities there. I get to do YouTube, right? I get to have access to more information quicker.
Yeah, which is all plus points for the current day and age. Like,
well, not all of those are plus points that you need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
Overall, like, we've had, like, way back in the beginning of the channel, we were talking about, in a podcast, about something like, would you rather live right now, 200 years past, 200 years in the future?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm going past every day of the week.
Of course, the future is uncertain, which is always... Uncertainty is scary inherently, but
because I believe if you never known this, like, current situation right now, the digital age, you never know that you're not missing out on anything. Because
first of all, if you're going back in time, you will have known it.
Well, you're not going back in time. Would you rather be born in 1800 or born in 2000?
I'm pretty sure that's what the discussion we had last time. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair, that's frame of reference, but still, nevertheless, like, people live longer, people live healthier.
People can live longer and healthier, but people also now live less healthy than they did in 1970. So that curve's going down there. I mean...
But, like, you know, medicine gets better. As you said, access to information has gotten better. As I said, access to entertainment has gotten better. Like... Generally, technology has overall, I would say, done more good than bad.
Well, if you're gonna exclude all things warfare.
Okay, fair, but warfare has happened before the technology was where it is now.
Well, yeah, but it's never been as impactful and dangerous as it is these days, you know?
I mean,
a bunch of dudes meeting up on a Saturday afternoon on a battlefield, shooting each other with incredibly inaccurate muskets. That was the worst thing that can happen to a guy back in the day.
I'm pretty sure the worst thing that could have happened back in those days would have been shot by an arrow rather than musket, because those are, at that point in time that you're talking about, probably more dangerous, but yeah.
Likely, yeah. But, you know, let's say like 1800s. That's like, there's nothing that can really... Like, nothing that huge substantially that can happen in that sort of thing. And I'd rather live in a age where we can't destroy ourselves as opposed to an age where we can.
Fair, but then again, that means just that the wars, if they're happening, can also technically last longer. Because, you know, that's what happened with World War II. Like, once it dropped the nukes, it ended. Well, once it dropped the second nuke.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But that was only Japan, though.
Yep. Yeah, of course, but I'm saying... the more people you can kill in an instant, the faster the war is over.
Right.
And
here's the problem, though.
The total death toll will, of course, go up.
Here's the problem, though. As soon as more than one power has obtained nukes and they're not on the same side, the war will end, but so will the world. And I'd rather have a war going on for 10 years and then being over, like World War I, World War II, whatever, even if it was a horrible war, than a war go on for a quarter of an hour and, you know, 7 billion casualties.
Of course, but now we're also once again talking about hypotheticals.
Well, it is a realistic possibility.
Yeah, of course, but it hasn't happened yet. I mean...
No, if it did...
If you say the bad technology is done in war, yes, it has killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
No...
Absolutely.
No question about that, but...
And ease...
Specifically nukes, for example, you can't argue that their effect has entirely been bad. Because the war ended earlier than it would have without nukes.
Well, I'm not just saying nukes, I'm just saying the advanced warfare. Because without any advance in warfare and technology, like stuff like World War II wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and the Cold War wouldn't have stayed cold.
Destruction on a mass scale sort of thing. And the Cold War would have never come to be. Because the whole globalization power type of thing would have never reached that extent that it got to.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we didn't have specifically the warfare technology, then the Cold War would not have stayed cold because they didn't have any mutually assured destruction.
But okay, but would that still have been that bad if the Cold War was just like, okay, let's meet on the battlefield and shoot muskets at each other? Like, okay, that's not a cataclysmic event. Of course, it's a horrible war and it should end ASAP. But, like, still. And, of course, it would not have happened in that capacity at all. It would be like the American Civil War. Because that was a huge tragedy back in the day. And it still is, of course, remembered as such. But back in the day, that was, like, awful. That was, like, the absolute apocalypse that you could imagine. It's like, the war. How could it get worse than this?
Also, why are we specifically focusing on war? Which is, especially in our times living in the Western world, not really a problem.
You think it's not a problem? Oh, it's a problem.
In the Western world, war is not really a thing right now. Like, of course, there's soldiers being sent to wherever.
The potential for it. I would rather live in 18th century wartime than 21st century peacetime with potential for 21st century wartime.
That just seems stupid.
I confidently would rather wake up in 1790 tomorrow than know that just the potential of war today could just end it all. I think that would be better. I prefer that. And that's what technology absolutely led to. That's undeniable.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying in a way, but I can't emphasize with the feeling of rather living in a war than living with the potential of war. That seems ridiculous.
Well, you look at the type of nature of the war, right?
Yeah, of course, but war is never a good thing.
No, war is never a good thing.
And we're currently not having any wars in the Western world. What's
the chances that we're never going to experience a war over our lifetime? Like 2 of us. Pretty slim. Statistically speaking. Non-existent.
Well, I mean, we also know that the impact of having the technology is something that dissuades people from having wars because they are aware of the consequences of having such wars.
To how long of an extent, though? I believe I've seen a fact or a statistic somewhere that since we started counting years, I think humanity's been at peace for less than 70 years in total, in over 2,000 years now.
Okay.
So, and
of course we don't have world peace now either.
No, we don't. No, no. That's, of course, also a problem that stuff brings about. The more connected you are, the more stuff you can influence badly anywhere else.
But also the more stuff you can influence positively.
Well, do we do that, though?
Yes, we do.
Is the world today better than it was in 1950?
I don't have all the facts to definitely
overall,
say overall,
just intuitively, would you say yes or no?
1950, you said.
Yeah. Could you 1950, 1900, 1850, and 1800, or just 1800 if you want to.
So 1950 would have been shortly after World War II. The rebuilding is still, I think, still happening, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that at all. So there's a lot of bad stuff going around, but of course,
kind of undecided on 1950.
What is it? 1900?
Give me 1850.
1850.
Is the world today better than it was in 1850?
What was happening around 1850? I'm not good at history to know that.
But what was happening around 1850? I mean, the Civil War was kind of getting there. It was 10 years in the future, but it was kind of getting there. In the 1950s was when the Republican Party formed, because the Whig Party split, and secession talks began happening, and then stuff went down. There was some like, okay, this is very Western centric again, because I'm not familiar with the history of friggin' Africa and Australia and like China around 1850. Not that much. Because we have, like, our sources of history teachings are fairly Western because that's where we're from. So we don't know that much about it. We are looking at everything from that Western point of view, and that's when China and Africa only become relevant after the turn of the 20th century.
Yes.
With the colonization of Africa and the somewhat of a globalization starting going down with China and the Asian realm. But like, I think the world was better in 1850. I think so.
I honestly can't tell because I don't know history, like, at all, basically.
Fair.
But you always point out the negatives, and a lot of the things that you point out negatives to have equally existing positive counterparts. Like, as you said, like, we have more potential to affect things negatively, but equally we also have more potential to affect things positively.
Would you trade nukes for a cure to a certain disease?
So you're saying we're giving up nukes, and
we're
keeping the nukes as which you perceive as negative?
Well, either way, because let's look at 1850 compared to now. So, or like some time in the past compared to now. Less advanced medicine in terms of like specific diseases, whatever we didn't have back then, versus no nukes. Which world would you rather live in? The world with nukes and the more advanced medicine, or the less advanced medicine with no nukes?
The more advanced medicine, clearly. Because
there's nukes.
The nukes are currently, like, how are the nukes affecting us?
They're threatening our lives every day. Global mass extinction. Possible.
Hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. Might happen. Likely to happen over a lifetime. Statistically speaking. I'll trade it. I'll take it. I mean, I think the bad is of higher impact than the good.
Well, if you look at what people have been dying of and at what ages, I'm not sure if the possible nuclear mass extinction would, specifically for us personally, necessarily, statistically speaking, reduce our lifetime significantly. Compared to not having the medicine. Okay,
we're focusing on one instance specifically again.
And then, of course, quality of life has definitely increased.
For some. Not for all.
Of course, but inequality has always been a thing. I think that quality of life overall has increased. At least, again, in the Western world, definitely.
Compared to the absolute standard of that time, or like time in the significant time in the past, yes, but relatively compared to the possibilities, no. I think in 1850 life was more fair than it is now in terms of wealth distribution.
Okay, example. Fair, but first of all, uneven distribution of wealth has always been a huge issue. Like, always.
Yeah. And which is more extreme now than it's ever been before.
That might very well be true. I'm not entirely certain that I know that there was that one guy in the past who was like if you adjust for inflation, like billions and trillions of dollars, but that's of course extreme cases. But even if wealth is unevenly distributed, that in quality of life still increases overall, that's still, while not perfect, overall still positive. Because if everyone's having a better life, it doesn't matter as much if it's unevenly distributed.
See, that's not a good way of thinking, because that leads you to settling and accepting for what you got. Like, I'm better off now than I was before, but if life was fair and like the actual increase because we can expect improvement. Yeah, damn right we can expect improvement. The improvement is climbing less than it should and could. That's still a reason for concern.
Of course, but that's not. But you can't. If you agree that life has gotten better over time, you can't say that you'd rather live in the past.
Absolutely not relatively though. Like in 1850, I would be more happy with my situation as an average guy than I am in 2018 with my situation as an average guy. Because I don't know what the other one is like, right? So I'm in 1850, I don't know how people, like the standard of living in 2018. But if I knew that I could have this, or a more uneven distribution, less fair social, like, structure way of living, I choose the fair one. Because from a subjective point of view, I would be more satisfied.
Yeah, but now you're doing the whole, what was it, the happy pig versus the, what's it, there's upside,
I know, that's, was it by Mill or, I don't know who it is. It was a British philosopher.
But now you're basically going on the side of being like, oh yeah, I'd rather live in blissful ignorance than...
I'd rather live the fairer life. And I know that I would be happier in my situation then. So
I don't understand how having it worse, while knowing it can't be better, or can't be significantly better than it is better than having it better, but knowing it could be even better.
I'm having it in absolute terms worse, but less worse than I would in the other one. If less worse makes sense.
I know what you're saying, but it still doesn't make sense.
The potential for better is now greater than it was then.
Yes.
In relative terms.
Okay, so you're saying that in absolute terms, you have it better now.
Yes.
And there's also more potential now.
Yes.
And you still prefer back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in relative terms, I would be of better standing. Back then, I would be in a better position compared to my environment than I am now. Absolutely.
I just don't see how
does that not make sense?
How the relative being relatively better is at any point desirable if that makes you absolutely
because how are you going to compare yourself then if you're not going to compare yourself to anything around you? I mean, of course it's relative. Everything is relative there. Like, how are you living compared to how the rest are living? What else are you going to compare your quality of life to?
Well, I mean, in this particular discussion, we're of course comparing it to the past, which of course always overall has been increasing.
But you can never compare to the future, right? So you need to look at that situation and that situation. How is life there, and how is life there?
Okay, I can understand how you specifically might be happier in the past, not knowing the future, than you are in the future, knowing the past. But that is still overall a worse situation to be in, so I don't understand that. Like, I know that without having the frame of reference, you might not perceive it as such. But we now, talking about that hypothetical, have the frame of reference, so I don't understand why that...
Well, the point is still the relativity, though. Like, 1850, that life, the average life of 1850 was the average life of 2018. And you can't compare them to each other because you can't, from both standpoints, know each other's standpoints, right? So what you need to do is compare the average life in 1815 to the worst life in 1815 and the best life in 1850. Or maybe just say the average one because that's where we're at, assuming that we assume the average position in both lives to the best.
Yes.
And scale that relative to its quality.
Okay, so you're saying the person has the best life right now compared to you right now versus you as an average person back then compared to the best person back then?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, fair.
So the person
who has it best back then, well, 1850. Are we still talking about monarchies, or is that no?
Let's just say 1850s America.
Because if we go a bit further back and we're talking about
monarchies are always bullshit, obviously.
Because then the highest possible thing is not obtainable because of social setting, right? Because the day age we live in, you can basically be anything. If you put all your energy into it and with a bit of luck sometimes, but technically there is no upwards limit. Like,
let's exclude monarchy here because that's a whole other realm of stupidity.
But like, even then, okay, us as white males are maybe not as problematic of a situation there, but like, possibilities are just better here, like now.
The potential, well, yes, but
you're always you specifically are always striving.
Yeah, right. But like
for achieving that potential.
The like the origin of the situation. See, in 1850, I couldn't like the ceiling is lower, but in relative terms, it's all higher. In 1850, I could reach more than I can now relative to my environment then, as opposed to my environment now. If you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but at that point it doesn't hold up, because you're saying that, okay, we're living in an age where technically you could get to the best possible position that someone currently is in, you could get there. Back then you couldn't.
Excluding monarchy, you could, and easier than you can now.
I don't think so.
That's exactly what I was building at, right? I'm looking at all of this in relative terms. Knowing, unable to compare both situations and all else held constant, the past would be a better situation, like a more preferable situation to be in relative to the world that it would obviously take place in, which is then the only thing that matters, as opposed to the present and possibly the future, because that I can't predict the future, but I'm assuming it's gonna be that way.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from in that regard, but I still think that looking at that is definitely one way you can look at it, but I don't understand why we cannot compare it to the modern situation.
Well, because in both situations, see, if one person from the 1850s were given that choice and one person from now, not both persons at that point can comprehend both situations, both positions, right? Because the person from 1850 doesn't know how it's going to be then. And to be fair, we don't know in that much about how it was. We know some, but not every single detail, right? So we can't look into that, because then they'd both be influenced by different factors in making that decision. So what they should be doing is just looking at how is life for me now relatively compared to what the best possible position is. And where that difference is bigger, that's the worst decision to be. Because of course, life overall got better, but at a lower rate than it should. And since you can only compare yourself to what's present and not to the future, or the past for that matter, because you're not living there. So that's like right now, of course, if I had somehow magically had everything that I have in 1850, and I have all my technology and the money, the type of wealth that I had, because of course currency was of course inflated over time as well.
Yeah.
Of course that would be I would be an absolute elitist in 1850.
Yeah.
But scale it all down back to 1850, I would be in a better position then than I am in now. Is what I'm saying. I know that is somewhat of an abstract concept, but that's what I'm getting at.
Again, I can follow your logic. I just don't think it holds up.
Well, in what way?
Well, because okay, so you're saying that if you didn't know about the future, being in the past is better, which is understandable. But then you're still choosing
which would then be your present, by the way.
No,
I'm saying we can't factor in comparing 1850 to 2018 because both parties don't have the same information there, which would then provide both with a different basis of making that decision. Which is exactly what we're not trying to do. We're trying to compare the life standards then to how it is then. Like, how satisfied am I now with how I am living, or with what I'm living in, as opposed to back in the day, right? Same sentiment. So they both need to make the decision on the same grounds, which can only be quality of life right now. Like quality of life compared to potential of quality of life. In either situation, independent of each other.
I think you've explained it for the third time now, and that nevertheless doesn't change that from our perspective, talking about the topic, why we should not take all the information we have right now into consideration, especially because you're choosing to live in the past without knowing about the future, because you're saying that makes you happier, but you're still choosing to have overall less information by being in the past.
Suppose you were put in a situation where you need to choose between two time frames. You have no extra information either, right?
Yes.
So that's a hypothetical. You have no extra information. You can look at how 1850 is, relatively.
Yes.
So your stand versus the potential or whatever the best possible. And you can look at 2018, your stance versus the best average.
Yes.
You can't compare absolute quality.
Yes. Okay.
Because you don't have that point of view. You don't have the timeline.
Yeah. In that case, it makes sense potentially to choose 1850. But nevertheless, though, we are not in that situation.
No, we are not in that situation. We are also not in the situation where we can choose to go back to 1850. That's why we're making this a hypothetical.
Yes. But now you're just saying you're making very specific parameters for the hypothetical to justify your answer.
If I were in that situation, I would pick 1850. Because the relative, my relative standard there would be better than it is. It would be better than it would be in 2018.
Okay, let me phrase the question differently then. If someone right now, I don't know, like a space wizard or whatever, came up to you right now.
A space wizard.
I had to make this somehow magical and sci-fi. I don't know why. The point is, comes up to you.
Yeah.
For some reason you believe that his powers are real. Doesn't matter.
Are they though?
Yes.
I'm not on drugs.
Yes.
Good.
So, again, for some reason, doubting him is not a factor, because of course that would always be one of the biggest factors.
Yeah, it's it's some type of deity that has to be trusted.
So...
Can only speak the truth.
Then, you're given the option. Live your life as you would from this point on, or be transported to 1850 and have your mind wiped of the time frame that you're living in now and have it replaced with whatever actual childhood memories of that time you would have.
Yeah.
Would you choose to go back?
I'm not keeping the memory of 2018.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm going back. Because at that point, I'm in the situation where I do not have the knowledge of 2018, right? So then what I then can only consider is...
No, I'm saying, when you're making the choice, you still know 2018.
Yeah.
But after you make the choice, if you get sent back, you don't.
But I know I won't be remembering 2018.
Exactly, yes.
So from that point where I actually do need to then evaluate which would I rather be in, I would then have to choose 1850.
See, yeah, that's the point where I don't understand why.
If they told me that you're gonna keep 2018, then I'm not you're gonna keep the mindset and knowing what's possible, what you're gonna have. I'm not going back because that's gonna be hard to adjust, right?
But in the moment when you're making the choice, you still know the possibilities of 2018. While you won't retain that knowledge, it still seems like you'd rather.
But then when I don't retain it, it doesn't affect me. Right? So at the point where I don't retain that knowledge, it's a non-factor to me because I don't know it, right?
Yeah. So I feel like that's once again visualizing one core difference here, which is how I'm more focusing on the absolute values and how that affects me versus how you are always thinking about specifically how your mindset affects things.
Well, yeah.
Which, again, brings me back to the happy pig, which,
I think we're kind of going in circles.
Yes, we definitely are.
So we can talk about this off the air maybe later. Maybe I can clarify that, say it a little bit better, get some better formulations for that. I don't know, but right now I don't
think you can, because I think I understand what you're saying. I just don't agree with it.
Okay, then but that's still a debate for later, though. Let's get into the halftime show of the podcast. So what do we have? Tell them, man.
Hearthstone card rarity quiz, because I'm not good with those.
He's really bad with those. And I want to see how bad he is.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know the rarity of cards. I wrote down a bunch of cards.
Because the rarity of cards doesn't matter to me.
The rarity of which is very easy to know for anyone who somewhat regularly plays Hearthstone. A little bit.
The thing is, the only case of majority matters is if A, I'm crafting the card, or B, I can only include it once because it's legendary.
Okay, so the thing is, you literally won't know the rarity of some cards that you actually have and see and play on the screen, because you, for some reason, don't even realize the gem in the middle, which every normal person would ever in the history of ever, because that's like one of the first points of information that you would absorb about it.
That's completely unimportant information. Attack, health, effect, cost, that's what matters.
You totally would notice it, but you, for some reason...
I also don't like the new Grizzly art, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, that's true. So, all of those cards, it's a list of 11 cards. I'm gonna ask you them, and you're gonna tell me the rarities. All of those, I believe, are extremely easy.
Okay.
So, we'll see. Doomsayer.
Epic.
Epic is correct. Savannah Highmane.
Rare.
That is also correct. Spirit Singer Umbra.
Wait, Spirit Singer... Isn't that the legendary that does the thing where you pop their death rattles right when they summon them?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Curious Glimmerroot.
Oh, that's rare, is it?
No.
Is it epic?
It's an epic.
Okay.
That's the 3/3 discover card from your opponent.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah. For Umbra, I was unsure for a second because I was like, wait, isn't it legendary? And then I was like, wait, he's asking me about legend. And then, yeah.
Light's Justice.
Light's Justice. This is one for Hammer, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Is that a common or rare? I think it's a rare, isn't it?
It's a standard card.
Oh, it's a standard. Okay.
It's a standard card.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone play it from hand.
Dude probably played it back in the day.
I only know the spell that gives you the weapon and the
summons the dudes and equips the...
yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually play the weapon from hand.
Okay. Corridor Creeper.
Epic.
Well done. Darmol.
Common?
Yes, common. Possessed Lackey.
Rare?
Yes, rare. Cabal Shadow Priest.
Rare?
No. Really. It's an epic.
Okay.
Let me change your mind. 6/5.
I know what it is.
You really don't... How do you not know that that's an epic card? That's a card that actually sees play.
Yeah.
And you see this...
I play a lot myself.
This is exactly what I mean. How do you then not know the rarity of the card? Blade of Cthulhu.
Because it's completely irrelevant information. Blade of Cthulhu. Oh, wait, is that the rogue one?
Yes.
That kills a minion and then... Oh, God. Epic?
Yes, epic. Seems fairly obvious. And last but not least, Baron-Geddon.
Obviously a legend.
Okay.
The legends I can get. That's that's easy.
Alright, okay, good. I was hoping to...
There's a giant dragon on it. How could you not see the giant dragon? Also, you can only include it once in your deck.
The dragon I only noticed once you told me. Like,
that's the most obvious thing, because it's still there.
That's not the most obvious thing. The most obvious thing is the...
It is, because the rarity gem is not there when it's the oval on the board. The only thing that sticks is the card art and the dragon.
But you hover over the card, though.
No!
I always hover over
the cards, do.
I always hover over the card when I want to know anything about it. Always do.
But you know the cards!
Yeah, I always hover over them. I mean, I know the rarities, but... When you, like...
You know the
when you play here's the thing. Here's a theory, right? Because you've never played the tutorial, because it didn't happen back in the day.
Correct.
In the tutorial of Hearthstone, it tells you in like the second fight or something like that, you can tell the rarity of the card by the gem in the center.
I know that you can tell it by that.
You get taught that, though. That's how you get taught to tell the rarity of a card. In Hearthstone.
So, I believe there's also a flavor text on the search component screen that, like, one of those tips where it also says that.
Yeah, maybe. So, that's how you get taught to look at the rarity of a card. So, that's how you always do it. You hover over it, look at the gem in the middle, that's the rarity of the card. The dragon? No. No. I mean, that just doesn't... That seems irrelevant to me. I know it's a nice design for legendary cards. That's just not what I'll be looking for. I'll be looking at the gem. Only the gem.
I'm probably looking at the actual things on the board or on the player when it's a weapon more than actually the card itself.
When I want to see a card, I'll always hover over it, look at the card. Always mouse over it and look at it. but that's how I do. I would assume that's how most people do it. Like, let me know in the comments who you agree with more. Like, what do you tend to do? I think most people would do it that way. Look at the gem rather than the dragon. Or generally notice the rarity of a card. Like, when you look at a card, you notice cost, of course the stats, the text, and the rarity.
The rarity is unimportant information.
You notice it.
The rarity does not affect the game at all.
You notice it and just save it in your head. Like, your mind just doesn't just blank on that. It absorbs all the information.
My mind is really bad at, maybe not absorbing information, but definitely retaining it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's just how your head works because of that. But that's... I assume that's how it would work for normal people. So, just let me know. If anyone has an opinion on that, let me know. But we have a fact of the week.
We do have a fact of the week. That is indeed a fact.
What is your fact of the week? We also got some other facts coming up later, but that's something else.
Yes, we do. Some of you might have already noticed we've got a giveaway currently going on.
Yeah, that is true.
That's the only thing.
We're giving away the Silent Age.
Yes, we are. And actually...
Good game.
Because I felt like doing that thing I might have mentioned before, kind of... I actually wrote a small Java program to save the
Giveaway
entrance
manager.
And to also randomly draw a winner later on when that happens.
Which we're going to make a video about.
And I actually wrote a second program because I didn't have a list in there where you just see how many people have how many entries.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wrote a little second program that reads off of the same file.
Yeah.
And actually just gives me a list of
how many entries
who's in there and how many entries they got.
Which I think we're not going to reveal or give information out about. But
correct.
You can basically find it out yourself.
We're gonna reveal that at the end when we're also gonna reveal all the answers and draw the winner.
Answers to all the questions, the entries.
It'll be a long video.
Yeah, it's going to be a long video, but hey, the people have stakes in that video, so it's okay.
I would like to have a steak now.
Like a steak, like edible.
Yeah.
You're hungry now.
Anyways,
really.
So yeah, that's like 40 or so questions. We start towards the end of June.
Yeah.
Going towards the end of July.
It's going to be much questions, but we're going to reveal all the answers. And we've gotten a lot of answers, some of them correct, most of them correct. We've gotten a bunch of wrong answers, which of course we can't always tell you.
Yeah.
In the comments, we can't be like, oh, that was wrong, try again.
Yeah, because then you're just gonna keep on trying. Most of the questions we're gonna reveal the answers to. There is one question in particular that I think we're not gonna fully reveal all the answers to.
Which one would that be?
The Easter egg one.
Oh, right, that one. Yeah, because there's so many.
First of all, there's so many, and second of all...
It also was answered correctly for at least one instance at the point of recording this.
Because Easter eggs are less fun when you point them all out.
Exactly.
It's kind of
that's going to still stay a running theme, though. Whenever you see an Easter egg pointed out, even when it's not part of the giveaway, point it out, we'll give a shout out, maybe. Or just at least heart your comment and not an answer to it. Like, we will recognize you, and you will get great fame from that. From us. Both of us. Is a fact. So, books have become a thing for me, right? More specifically, audiobooks.
Because you can't read.
I can read. I'm not a good reader. I can't focus on it. Not for longer than a lot of time. My eyes start hurting. I don't read. But I love audiobooks, and I like the story. So, last time we talked about Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes, we did.
And since then, and this should tell you something about how efficient audiobooks are, I first of all finished that up and got throughout the entirety of Mice and Men and started The Great Gatsby in less than a week. So, and here's a fun fact about Of Mice and Men, which is a book that I recommend to everyone now. And I'm glad I can say that type of stuff now. I know a classic of American literature, and I can recommend it out to everybody because I've read it, or at least I heard about it, or heard it. Can I say read it? Just for convenience sake, we'll just say I read the book. I audio read it. Because there's no good way of saying that. I listened to the book. That sounds weird.
I don't know. We need to establish something there because I don't know. That seems there's probably something.
Because the outcome is the same as if I had read it. I know the information of the book.
But you're not actually well read.
Well,
you didn't actually read it.
I was well read too. Thank you very much. So the guy who narrated that, by the way, great dude. Audiobook of Mice and Men on YouTube. The narration was fantastic. Here's a fun fact about it. So the original title of that book was supposed to be even simpler than it actually was. So the author John Steinbeck actually intended to call the book Something That Happened.
Wow.
That's what the book's original title
is it based on a real event?
The character Lenny is based on a real person. And I believe John Steinbeck has also constructed some of the events after his life. So I believe he also did some of the traveling around, working on farms, sort of thing. And yeah, the character of Lenny was based on a person that he knew in real life.
Because if it's fiction, then it's not something that happened.
Yeah. But so if you thought that Of Mice and Men was already the least information presenting title ever, and there is, and I can confirm in the story without spoiling anything, men do appear and so do mice. And both die. Not all of them, but there's mouse death and there's man death. And they both appear. So it's correct, but something that happened was supposed to be the original title. There we go. That's a fact of the week. Really good fact. And leading us right into the second topic, which has to do with a lot of more facts.
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
Today we're playing a very classic game. We've kind of done something similar last podcast, but this is actually, I would argue, more interesting, at least from a player standpoint. We're playing Two Truths and a Lie.
Two Truths and a Lie.
Where we'll tell each other facts.
You can put an info
and a
card
little bit of
to Life is Strange Before the Storm, episode 1, right now.
Will do.
Great.
If I remember to.
Because they played it there.
Yeah, they did.
So that's what we're playing.
And Chloe cheated.
Yeah, that's true. The idea is, we
played Chloe and then we asked Chloe.
We didn't have to, but we did. Because
that's something Chloe would totally do.
And Rachel had to figure it out anyway because she's a psychopath.
She's also apparently psychic.
Yeah, that's true. So here's how it works. We created sets of 2 truths and a lie each.
The game is very self-explanatory, I think.
We need to tell them, and then the other person needs to take a guess. Okay, so just hit me up with the first one, and we'll see how it goes. First one. I'm wearing a San Francisco 49ers ball cap right now. True or false?
True.
I always do. A lot of times. Sometimes I wear Golden State, but yeah.
Here is 3 facts about me, which actually one of those is a lie, which is what this game is about.
Cool.
Number 1. My favorite Dungeons and Dragons class is Wizard.
Okay.
Number 2. I'm how do I best word this?
The way you wrote it down or should have written it down.
The way it's written down just says, I'm 2x allergic to wheat. Which, I have 2 wheat allergies, is basically what that's saying.
Okay. 2 different wheat allergies.
And, I once played a role in a school play.
You never played a role in... Wait. Well, there was a school play that we worked on together.
Yes.
And you were doing the lighting.
I was doing the lighting for a school play once, but
I was actually playing 2 roles in that. Just saying,
And you were also supposed to do the lighting in the beginning, weren't you?
Exactly. But then they gave me 2 roles. 2 of them.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. I actually was on stage, played a role.
Okay. So, one of those is false. I'm pretty sure that you like the Wizard. I don't think that's too far-fetched. Now, I know you're allergic to wheat in a way, but can you be allergic to wheat in more than one way?
Yes.
How? You can be... how?
Well, if I'm explaining my facts too much, you'll, of course, obviously spot which one is true and which one is false, because I would not have...
I know you can be, allergic to gluten, but then you'd also be allergic to other grains. And, I don't know, wheat specifically? Maybe. I know you eat bread, so it can't be too bad. I'm gonna say the, you were on stage is a lie.
That's actually true.
That's true.
I wasn't in a plain elementary school
true,
once.
Though.
Elementary school, I actually don't remember any of what that was about, but I was in there, yeah. So.
What's a lie? The Wizard?
The Wizard, yeah.
The Wizard. What is it?
What is what?
Your favorite class?
I'm not even sure, but I definitely know it's not the Wizard. First of all, I don't really have a set class as my favorite, but right. If I had the choice to play a spellcaster, I'd probably play a bard or a sorcerer over the Wizard.
Alright.
As a matter of fact, you've seen me play both of those.
It's true.
The wheat allergy is a fun thing.
Is it a fun thing?
No, but I'm both allergic to it as a food item and to the pollen.
Alright. Oh, okay. Alright.
So there's that.
I get it.
I'm actually allergic to most grains when it comes to the pollen, but wheat specifically for eating.
You're allergic to everything.
Yeah.
Are you also allergic to barley and rye and stuff? Or just wheat?
I know for a fact that those I'm not allergic to eating, but I believe also the pollen. Okay. So yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, that's just you being allergic to everything.
So I'm allergic to wheat. Yeah. In more than one way. That's a fact.
That is a good fact. So, first of all, I'm holding this piece of paper the wrong way and this wrong way too, so now I got it. So, here's my first statement, and I hope I can see them because it's dark in here. And I'm picking my phone up to give me some light for this, because it's dark.
Also turn on the lights. But yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so, number one. I, as opposed to many other people who know a thing or two about fine food items, find lobster pretty disgusting. Number two, the Jack of Diamonds is my favorite playing card. Number three, I have never in my life attended a funeral or wedding.
Okay, I know for a fact that number two is true.
The Jack of Diamonds?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've talked about it before.
Alright.
I believe I'm fairly certain it's true. There's an off chance that it was the King of Diamonds. Anyways. Funerals, what is that? That seems like something that would happen. Lobster, I personally don't know that much about, but I could totally believe that you wouldn't like it. So I'm gonna say that the third one was a lie.
The third one was the funeral and wedding thing.
Yes.
So that was a lie.
Yes.
That is correct. I have never in my... Wait. No, that is the truth. That is the truth. That is the truth. I'm kind of confused with the game here. I have never in my life attended a funeral or wedding. Never. People in my family don't get married and they don't die. Oh, like, in my extended family tree, I have witnessed 2 divorces, no deaths, no weddings. Nothing. There you go.
Okay.
Lobster, never eaten it. That's why it's a lie, because I've never eaten it.
You don't find it disgusting.
I don't find it disgusting because I don't know how it tastes. And the Jack of Diamonds is my favorite playing card, obviously.
I seem to remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, I've told you that before. I knew you knew that.
I was 100% certain for a second there it might have been the King, but yeah.
Jack of Diamonds, great guy. Love him.
Well, so, you know the computer that I've got standing around here, right?
Yeah, it's a computer.
That we're currently recording with?
That is a computer, yeah.
That is actually only my third computer that I've ever owned in my life.
Okay. Like the thing, or just the monitor, or the whole set, or what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking specifically about
the tower
computers, so I would consider the tower specifically.
Okay.
Because the other stuff is technically just peripherals.
Only the third. That's all right. That's more than most people would have on age 20.
The second one is not really a fact about myself, but more about my family, and that is that my father's 2 brothers actually married sisters.
Okay.
And third of all, what? Oh yeah.
Was it your mother's 2 sisters?
No.
That would be great.
That would have been.
That would be fantastic.
And the third one actually, despite being such a great nerd as I am, I've actually never seen Game of Thrones. Never seen a full episode of Game of Thrones.
Okay. So the Game of Thrones thing, I don't know. Fun fact, and this is true by the way, my father and his brother married 2 best friends, and my mother and her best friend.
How did I fuck this up?
What did you fuck up? What you fuck up?
Okay, I just now realized I wrote the Sun out of order, and apparently I fucked this setup. So this is actually not entirely correct by the rules. Sorry.
So that's why you don't...
This is one off. So
there's what? There's 2 lies in there? Or all true?
Just guess. God.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
See, that's why you write it down in order. I told you that.
But that's even harder, because then if you're coming up with a good thing that doesn't fit the set...
Then you put it later. Okay, let me go ahead and...
But I've got bad memory, goddammit.
So...
How did I fuck this up?
You might have never watched Game of Thrones, but then again, you just might have. The family thing seems too specific to be made up specifically by you. What was the first thing you said?
Well, the first thing I said was this computer's only my third.
Okay, I could believe that. So I'm saying you've never watched the Game of Thrones episode.
So, again, I'm sorry, I fucked this up somehow. Those are all true. I've never seen a Game of Thrones episode. This is my third computer, and my uncles both married.
So guessing there was no sense in guessing that for me. So
God damn it!
Do you mean to say there's going to be another mistake later? Because if that's the case, then there's going to be another set where 2 truths, 1 lie doesn't hold up. They need to be 2 lies and a truth later. Damn it, JJ.
Okay, the other side's okay. Apparently, someone fucked this up.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Okay, that's weird. Okay, let me go for my second one. And actually, I can read those out for like this. Okay, so number 1.
After I read them, I was like, wait, that's wrong. Because had I not read them out yet, I could have just flipped the Game of Thrones one around to I've seen Game of Thrones, which would have been less spectacular of a fact, but would have still worked.
Okay, you could have just done that and said like, "Oh, I said it wrong. I meant it differently." But okay.
Damn it, I'm not good at lying, am I?
Yeah, here's my first variable, second set. I was able to read at age 4. Fact number 2. I knew basic math, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division by age 5. And lastly, I was able to play chess by age 6. Read at 4, math at 5, chess at 6.
So, the chess at 6 is just like being able to move the pieces without actually validating any playing rules, or just like proper chess strategy and everything.
Well, somewhat. Of course, in the beginning, you're not as good as you are.
I'm gonna say the reading is a lie.
The chess is actually the lie.
Wow.
I started playing chess at around age 9. Or 8 or 9, so not at 6.
I don't know exactly when I started playing chess, but I started playing chess extremely early. Right. But I've never actually learned the strategy. I just learned the rules. Right. And I've also was able to do
I started playing chess competitively at age 9. But I was able to read at 4 and do basic math at 5, yes. That is true. Because my dad basically homeschooled me before school.
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
I could do math as far
props to you.
I like for ages as well, but reading I think came like basically with school, but yeah.
I also could tell the time, by the way. Like age 4, just tell the time.
Okay, I could only do it with a digital clock at that age, probably.
Right.
But you know, so third set, and this
check
one
before it's correct.
I did check the third and fourth set whether they were correct. Good. After I realized that I fucked up the second one. Because I didn't want to fuck up more sets.
Good.
Because that would have kind of ruined. I pulled a Chloe there.
Yeah, pulled a Chloe.
Not even intentionally.
Disgusting.
Although I believe Chloe, I think they played, what was it? Was it 2 lies and a truth? And they had like 3 lies in her set.
I'm not even sure.
Anyways, number 1, I do not have a favorite Hearthstone class. Okay. Number 2, I broke my arm when I fell off a bike.
Alright.
Number 3, I own more tie clips than I own ties.
You do own more tie clips than you own ties. That's a given. That's a fact. Now, one of the others is a lie. And you having a favorite Hearthstone class, I feel like if you did, I'd know it. But I know you play a lot of stuff, but I also know you like playing Priest. I'm gonna say the Hearthstone class is a lie. I can see you having broke your arm at some point, so I'm gonna say the Hearthstone thing is a lie.
Actually, I probably should have worded the question differently because it would have been a brilliant truth thing, but actually the broken arm is a lie.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, and this would have probably been a good truth to put somewhere else instead of this lie, I've never broken anything.
Wow. Because you never moved anything.
I did stuff as a kid. I've specifically bike riding. I did.
Well, yeah, as a little kid, you really don't break bones because they're all kind of flexible.
But I mean,
you don't really break stuff as like a little kid.
That's true, I guess.
That's only later, like when you're an adult, that's you're more susceptible to that. Okay. So
never actually broke anything.
So you don't have a favorite Hearthstone class?
No.
Okay, cool. I thought it might have been Priest.
Because like I was thinking about it, like, oh yeah, my favorite Hearthstone class is this and that, and then
but there isn't. Really.
I was using it as a truth or lie, but then I was like,
I know
there
true
really isn't one because classically I prefer Priest as my most played class, but then again, lately my favorite thing to play is probably Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while there was Mage, and then for a small while there was Rogue. So yeah, I just played all.
All right. So here's another set of stuff. Number 1, I once had pneumonia. Number 2, I survived it. Number 3, I do like the movie theater more than I would care to admit to most of our friends.
Well, because number 1 and 2 are connected, and you are currently alive.
I am currently alive.
That means that if 1 is true, then 2 is also true.
Obviously.
And if 2 is true, that requires 1 to be true, as there's only one lie.
I could be like, I could have never had pneumonia, and of course I survived because I never had anything.
Oh, so that doesn't necessarily.
The survive one is just like, oh yeah, I'm alive.
Okay, so you are alive.
I am alive. That's a fact.
You have barely seen any movies, so I'm gonna say that 3 is a lie, anyways.
That was the movie thing.
You liking the movie theater more than you'd like to.
That is a lie.
It's obvious.
I really don't like the movie theater at all, and I'm not a fan of it. I did have pneumonia, and I survived it. Fact.
Figured.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you're currently still alive.
Yeah.
Would have been a weird revelation if that was a lie.
I could have put in the third one there, but I'll just there we go. Want to make it easy.
So,
like on the first one,
you might be aware that I play some Pokemon games in my day. My days. My favorite starter Pokemon actually is Charmander.
Okay.
Also, I once had to almost repeat a school year because of bad grades. And I can't swim.
So, the thing is, I know you almost failed a bunch of classes. And the Pokemon stuff, I don't even begin to try now. You not being able to swim sounds kind of... No. You're gonna have to be able to swim, because we did that in gym class. In some type of school year, they actually taught us to swim for sure. So, those are both correct. So I'm guessing Charmander is not your favorite starter Pokemon.
No, me not being able to swim is obviously a lie, as you pointed out.
Oh, you said you're not able to swim.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, in that case, yeah. Yes, you definitely are able to swim.
Yes, I am.
That's my, okay.
But they did...
Getting confused by the game.
But, yes, Charmander is my favorite starting Pokemon. What was the other one? I don't even remember.
Had to almost fail some bunch of classes and had to, yeah.
Art and French.
Art and French class.
Those 2 classes, I
stuff.
Almost failed.
Yep.
Like, I did actually fail.
That's the thing you mentioned a lot, by the way. Disgusting. I know. I'd be miffed about that.
Okay, like, out of those things, the one that seems most... Like me failing in school seems off character because of me being smart and all. So...
Intelligent more than you're smart.
Fair. Me not being able to swim seems like something... You pointed out I don't move, so,
Yeah, you don't move.
It seemed like something that could be on character.
But you really can't... Like, you get taught to swim. You just
actually, we were taught swimming in elementary school, and after that was over for gym class, I still couldn't swim. Actually learned after that. So
okay.
So for a while there, we were taught it in school, and I still couldn't do it. Okay. So
I can swim, but I hate it. It's so boring.
I actually like swimming.
We've had that discussion recently.
I was about to say I mentioned it recently, so I could have actually easily known that by that.
I don't enjoy swimming at all. It's really boring. All right, go on. I got one. So
I'm not sure if I would still like it, but I assume that I would.
That was the last one for you, right?
Yes.
So here's the last one for me. I have 27 teeth. Number 2. Okay, my favorite meal for breakfast and supper is proats, which is protein oats, which is oatmeal with protein powder in it. And number 3, I would volunteer for the permanent Mars mission if I was eligible. That's the mission where they send people to Mars to live there.
That's a lie. The last one's a lie. The last one's obviously a lie. No, wait, we mentioned it before, didn't we? Maybe the second one was a lie. Let's say the second one was a lie. I'll go with the second one was a lie.
I'm surprised that you actually said that, but yeah, that is correct. So
I was about to say,
let me elaborate on.
At first, I thought you wouldn't. I thought like obviously you're not going to go to Mars, but then I realized we talked about that before.
Yep.
And I think you said you wanted to do it, so yeah.
I would totally volunteer for the Mars mission. I only have 27 teeth. I was born without wisdom teeth. Praise the Lord for that. But I'm also missing 1 extra tooth. So I still have 1 baby tooth as we speak. And whenever that falls out due to just getting old, there will be a gap.
Okay.
And I do eat protein oats for almost every breakfast and supper.
But it's not something you enjoy, really, is it?
No, because protein powder doesn't taste that nice.
Exactly.
And oats are just oats. So I don't like
it. It sounds very bland.
Yeah, it is very bland. I don't like the flavor of it, but I do eat it. So yeah, there you go. Did you get almost every... Did you get them all? Did you get all of them, though? Did you get them all, though? Let's check this. First one was I find lobster disgusting. Never attended a funeral or wedding. You got that wrong.
I got that wrong, yeah.
Yeah. But the other ones... Wait, okay, the math one you got also wrong. I did not play chess at 6. But the other ones, the not liking movies...
Interestingly enough.
Yeah, possible. The not liking movies...
Yeah, of course, the last two were really easy. But...
Probably knows from... Yeah. Those ones you got.
The third one was definitely easy. The fourth one...
The fourth one, I'm surprised. I would have thought you just... volunteer for the Mars mission. Or 27 teeth. It also sounds kind of off.
Okay, gut feeling was you weren't gonna volunteer for the Mars mission. But
normal people have 32 teeth. Like, being off 5 is... Come on, that's...
Okay, so first of all, the Mars mission seemed like a gut reaction that was the one. Because that seemed so false. But then I realized that you said you were gonna do it. And I thought about it. Okay, how can anyone enjoy the protein powder thing? And the teeth thing is one of those, as you said, it's way too specific.
Yeah.
I
could have easily written down I got 26 teeth.
I was about to say it could have
it would have been a lie.
It could have been that you had a weird teeth thing and then thereby just made up another slightly off weird teeth
totally
thing.
Possible.
But to come up with that in the first place...
I would volunteer for that same mission to Jupiter. I would not. Because Jupiter is gaseous and hot and disgusting and poisonous. Mars is not.
Mars is cold and disgusting and...
Not as poisonous. Yup. Exactly. That's how we do that. So yeah, there we go. That's a bunch of truths and a lie. That was fun.
Not a hugely long podcast, but it was longer than I expected it to go.
We can do that. We can play that again. That was kind of fun. If we can come up with more
Oh
stuff.
God, I was struggling this time around. This is not going to get easier.
Well, that way you have now some more time to prepare and think of stuff. And whenever you think of something good, you write it down.
I'd rather prepare for the next Warcraft lore segment, which we wanted to do for a while now.
Which we can also do. And once you got more, we can do that. So, we are basically done today, but we're going to leave you on a high note and a bad musical pun with the song of the week, which we're going to give to you right now. So, JJ, what is your song of the week to end?
Okay, I'm going to name you the title, and I'm going to have you guess the band. If you, maybe you know it, I don't know. All right. Protect and Survive.
Protect and Survive. Knowing you, it's Hammerfall.
It's actually Runrig.
Okay.
So there's that.
I know there is a Runrig song by that name. I haven't downloaded it, but my first immediate intuition was it had to be Hammerfall. So.
That sounded like it could have totally been a Hammerfall song title. Yeah. So when I wrote that down song of the week, I was like, gotta have him guess which band that is.
I know Protect and Survive is a Runrig song. It's okay.
It's one of the better Runrig songs.
That's not true. There's a lot of good Runrig songs. That's not one of the better ones. My song of the week is one that you probably should know because I recently gave it to you. I'm not sure I put it in music share or I think I gave it to you right away on a USB drive. It's All For One by Black Mars Night.
Yes, that was on the USB stick. Yeah, that's
good song. Like it. It's kind of catchy.
Haven't quite formed an opinion on that yet. We might get back to that later.
Yeah, we can listen to that right after we're done with this, which is gonna happen soon because this is all we wanted to bring to you today. Always hope you enjoy the broadcast, whatever. Go back and answer the question if you haven't done it already. Win a free game, The Silent Age, and share your song of the week with us because there is a playlist on our channel,
linked in the description,
on which you can share your song of the week with us. And if it's good, that is good. So thank you for watching. Like the video and subscribe to our channel so you're not going to miss any more stuff. JJ.
That's it?
That's it.